of our dependent variable, that is current salary. In other words, our independent variable explains our dependent variable by 80.3%. The next table is ANOVA table. The ANOVA table tests the acceptability of the model from a statistical perspective. Its p-value or significance value should be less than 0.05. It shows us that our overall model is statistically significant or not. Here our model is statistically significant because our p-value or significance value in the last column of ANOVA table is less than 0.05. The next table is coefficients. Here we can see that SPSS has generated the coefficients for our variables in the column B. The coefficient of constant or B naught is minus 10266.6. The coefficient for our beginning salary, our first independent variable, is 1.927. The coefficient for our second independent variable, months since hired, is 173.203. And the coefficient for our third variable, that is previous experience of an employee, is minus 22.509. So all the coefficients of our independent variables and our constant have been generated by SPSS in this table. The standard error in the next column to be is showing that our coefficients can have that much chances of error, or our coefficients can vary by this amount. The significance column or the p-value again should be less than 0.05. It shows the statistical significance of our coefficients. Here all our coefficients of independent variables are statistically significant because the p-value or significance value of all independent variables is less than 0.05. The next column is tolerance. It is showing us that is there any multicollinearity existing between the variables or not. Let me define tolerance. Tolerance level is the amount of independent variables predictive capability that is not affected by another independent variable. It should be closer to 1. Tolerance level less than 0.2 indicates the high degree of multicollinearity. On the other hand, we have variance inflation factor or VIF. We can get this value by dividing tolerance by 1. 1 divided by tolerance is equal to variance inflation factor. It is also indicating that there is no multicollinearity in our independent variables. If the value of VIF is greater than 5, then it shows that there is a high degree of multicollinearity in our independent variables, and it calls for changes in the independent variables. Moving forward, there is a histogram Here you can see that it is showing normality. Then again, moving forward, we can see that all these black dotted lines are nearer to this diagonal straight line, which means that the variation in our data is not that much. So we can say that our data is following a good pattern. Or in other words, there is less variation in our data. Finally, we can see the scatter plot between the residual and our dependent variable, that is current salary. Here we can see the bunch of dots or a cluster of dots, and these dots are not that much scattered in the scatter plot. In other words, we can say that the error term is showing the constant variance. That was all on the part of SPSS. Now we will see that how to incorporate multiple regression analysis in our research paper. Here's the research paper. An impact analysis of real gross domestic product, inflation and interest rates on stock prices of quoted companies in Nigeria. This research paper has been published by International Research Journal of Finance and Economics, Eurojournals Publishing, 2009. Now let's look at the abstract, that what the researcher wanted to examine and how he has examined. Market reacts differently to various factors ranging from economic, political, and socio-cultural. The stock prices of quoted companies in Nigeria are affected either positively or negatively by a number of factors occurring within or without the economic system. The paper examines the impact of real gross domestic product (RGDP), interest rate (INT), and inflation rate (INF) on stock prices of quoted companies in Nigeria from 1997 to 2006. Stock prices were represented by Stock Market Value Index in the model, which is SMVI is equal to alpha naught plus alpha 1 INT plus alpha 2 INF plus alpha 3 RGDP plus the error term. A regression analysis showed that the explanatory variables accounted for 95.6% of the variation in stock prices. So here you can see that regression analysis has been used. Now further he says, while a reduction in